Okay, so slight change of plans this morning. So there's a thing that like I do in my high school Mishlei class, which would be of benefit here. So I call it Mishlei Moments or Koheles Moments. Okay, which is that like, and there's three types of Mishlei Moments. Okay, there's something came up in real life that was directly an example of a pasuk that we learned. Okay, second type of Mishlei Moment is less common, which is that something comes up in life that gives you insight into a pasuk you didn't understand and like helps you to learn it. And then the third one, which I think is the most common, is like, something comes up in life where like Mishlei thinking, is evident, or like the benefits of Mishlei are evident, and not tied to a particular pasuk, but just like the general overall Mishlei way of thinking. And the idea of having, so that is what a Mishlei moment is. But then the idea of sharing it is also has several benefits. One is it helps you to clarify whatever insight you had when you talk it out. The other thing is there's a book that actually was, I guess, the first book that's similar to Atomic Habits that I read, called Switch by Chip and Dan Heath, which is about how to change. And one of the strategies that they emphasize is called, they label it finding the bright spots, which is you find what's working and then you focus on that and try to replicate it, So I find that the more you explicitly talk about the benefits that you've gotten from Mishlei, or the more you explicitly talk about how a certain idea like impacted you, the more you are clarifying intellectually the like what went on, and you're also setting yourself up to be able to have future moments like that as well, So I have a Mishlei moment, and I don't know how long we're gonna dwell on this, but let me read the pasuk first, and this is from the introductory prakim of Mishlei, so I don't know them as well. This is in chapter 6, and it's not davka these psukim, but these are the ones that came to mind. So it's talking about this is 6:20. Nitzor b'ni mitzvahs avicha. So my son, guard the mitzvos of your father, or the mitzvah of your father. Val titosh Torah simecha, and do not abandon the teaching of your mother. Okay. General machlokas about how to approach those psukim. You probably have done something like that in Rabbi Zimmer's, or not yet?
Yeah. Second possibly.
Yeah. So like general machlokas here, when it says mitzvah, is it talking about, and when it says father, is it talking about mitzvahs of the Torah and your father is God? Is it talking about your literal father, or is it talking about your Mishlaic father, which is Shlomo? Because the whole thing is like him talking to his son. I'm taking it for our purposes in terms of Mishlei. Okay. So then it says, so keep my mitzvahs and don't abandon the teaching of your mother. Kasher mali bicha tamid, bind them to your heart constantly. I'm realizing I'm not sharing this. Hold on. Bind them to your heart continually. Hold on. And Andim al galgrosecha, wrap them, adorn them, your neck with them. Very similar to the psukim in the beginning of Mishlei, I think. Okay, now here's the part that I was thinking. Behis halechacha tanche osah. When you walk, they will guide you. Okay, it will guide you. B'shachvacha, when you sleep, tishmor alecha, it will guard you. Okay. V'hakitzosa, when you wake up, he sisichacha, it will converse with you. Okay, so it's talking about these benefits of the mitzvah of your father, is that it will when you walk, it'll guide you. When you lie down, it will guard you, and when you wake up, it will converse with you.
Fine.
Yeah. Okay. So here's my Mishlei moment. Okay, without explaining what that is. I mean, obviously the question is like, what does that mean? So here's my Mishlei moment: is I woke up 90 minutes late this morning. Okay, and it was partially my fault, partially not. I got a new alarm clock. And I've literally been using the same alarm clock that I used from 2002 when I first came to yeshiva. Wow. Finally, it broke. Wow. And so that alarm clock, the way it would work is you can leave the switch to the point where it's always on the alarm setting, and then you set the time for it. So I wouldn't have to switch alarm on or off. I would just set the time and then just always leave it on, And then when I and the way to stop the alarm is you just press the button. This new alarm clock, you set the time, but then to switch it to not do snooze, you flip a switch. Uh-huh. So last night I set the alarm and I set the alarm time, but I forgot to flip the switch. Oh, no. And then you got to realize, by the way, how rare it is for me to ever wake up late. It literally happens like once every 2 years, like in any capacity. My other alarm is that I have my air conditioner set on a timer, and when it goes off, I wake up and that usually happens before my alarm. So my normal morning routine is I wake up at either 6 or 5:30, and I've got a good, nowadays, like in the winter, I've got a good like hour, sometimes hour and a half before I daven, and so like I got a lot of stuff, and so I woke up at 7:30 this morning, and because of the eye mask, it's not like the light wakes me up, So I woke up and realized I lost 90 minutes this morning, and it's a busy day today. Like I've got a bunch of stuff that I have to do and prepare. So the Mishlei moment is, and this is kind of related to what we said yesterday of like the experience of the poor person, so the humble person, when he realizes like the guy's urinating on him, and like he like has a reaction, and then he notices his internal world, So what I realized is like my internal world immediately locked into place to adjust to the new reality. No feelings of like being upset or frustrated or angry. It was just immediately okay, so I lost the 90 minutes. And it wasn't even an effort of like, there's nothing I can do about it now. It was just like, okay, like this is just the new reality. And then everything just adjusting. And it's the type of thing that you can't force. Like you can't force these things, but because Mishlei is constantly forcing you to practice. I was also thinking about this because of your question about Stoicism and Mishlei. Mishlei and Stoicism both emphasize constantly assessing what is in your control and what's not in your control. And then there's there's 3 stages basically. There's before you learn Mishlei, where you freak out about stuff that's not in your control and you try to control it. Then there's like in Mishlei, where you are identifying what's in your control and what's not in your control, and then like feeling all the feelings about wanting to control the stuff, and then realizing that that's futile. And then there's the point where you are no longer even feeling that you should be able to control the stuff that you're not controlling. And I'm not saying 3 stages like in your life. I'm saying it could be in particular areas. Like, obviously, like it's a lifelong process. Like I think if a fire broke out, then like I would feel like I should control it, or something like that. But this, I think, is like the way that he talks about it here in this pasuk. And again, I don't know if this is pshat, but this is just what came to mind here. Probably because it had to do with me lying down and waking up. But when you walk, it'll guide you. That's clear because Mishlei is talking about in your waking life how to apply the ideas, But then when you go to sleep, it will guard you. That's a weird one, And when you wake up, it will converse with you. So I don't know what Shlomo means, but the category in my mind that this comes up from, mostly from my Mishleic experience, is like there's certain automated benefits to Mishlei, where there are the ones where you are consciously, deliberately applying Mishlei to real world circumstances. And then there are like the background benefits of Mishlei that you don't realize are operating and shaping the way that you relate to things. And then when the situation comes up, it just kicks in, and like you receive the benefit of the Mishleic training without consciously operate, like trying to implement it, So it's not like I wake up and have to force myself to realize that like I'm 90 minutes late and I shouldn't be freaking out and all, but it kicks in because of just the Mishleic training. And so that's something to just be aware of, that like not only when every pasuk we learn in Mishlei, not only are you gaining the particular idea that Shalom was teaching you, but you're also shaping your internal reactions to things slowly and gradually, to the point where you'll find yourself in these situations like this, where like something will come up and you will know your own personality, and you'd be like, a year ago, I would have freaked out about this, or like a year ago, I would have reacted to it in this way, and you realize that like Mishlei has reprogrammed your internal world without you recognizing it.
Cool.
Yeah. So I just want to bring that up.
Very cool.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
I have a general Mishlei moment to share.
Sure.
So I think that there's like a certain obsolescence that I had for a very long time, where if something was like necessary for like long-term life planning, I would have like almost like an inability to do it, like applying to colleges.
I hear that. I've been there.
it would be like almost impossible for me to get myself to do it. I would eventually freak out, and be like, I have to do this now. And I do it, this past year, I applied to Google Summer Code on time. And so I got it, and then I followed up with the Turtles career fair, even though like it didn't like seem like it was going to be beneficial to me. And because I realized that I hadn't told the Dr. Robinson, who's head of the computer science department, that I did Google some work doing. And so then I informed him. And then yesterday, I got a phone call from the director of career services, who said that someone from Amazon was looking for recommendations.
Ooh.
And Dr. Robinson recommended me because I think it's because I had done Google Server Code and followed up with him to make sure that he was aware of that, and doing those things wouldn't have been possible if I was waiting until the reality was very the short-term reality was very apparent.
Yeah. Nice, good.
Yeah, cool.
Two more things that example brings up is just talking about the Mishlei Moments in general is another big reason why this is a good habit to do of articulating this. And I don't mean necessarily in shiur, but talking about it. I'll talk about stuff like this with my Mishlei Chavrusas, and consciously bring it up. This is not just a teaching thing. This is in learning, is that it is a lo lishma, but it's a healthy lo lishma to make yourself feel good about Mishleic progress. So there's a certain reluctance to am I just patting myself on the back? Am I bragging? Am I, but that helps you. If you want to run from those lo lishmas, then it's an idiotic thing where you're I want to perfect myself purely. I don't want to use my psyche. Right. And that's insane. You're a psychological being. Maybe if you are on the level of learning lishma stam and you drop below that, then maybe that's something that you should be worried about. But we're not in that place, so don't feel bad about the fact that you're harnessing a lo lishma of feeling good about your Mishlei progress, so that's one thing. The other thing is a person might view this and say, and I've had some people view this, it's usually not from high school, it's usually people who have been in yeshiva for a while, of viewing this as a okay, then what's the chiddush? Or you're just going over a lengthy example and not doing anything. The whole thing is that Mishlei, Mishlei operates with particular examples because your emotions only change based on the particulars. Your mind can see an idea once and then instantly get it. But you notice all of Shlomo HaMelech, well, not all of Shlomo HaMelech stuff, but a lot of his psukim go into very detailed scenarios, and you could you could summarize all of Mishlei by just saying Ezehu Chacham Haroyas Hanolad, and you wouldn't need an entire book. So why does he need to have a different pasuk about each example of seeing the consequences? Because your emotions are only affected by seeing particulars. So the more, when you find examples in your life, the more you articulate the particulars, then the more it's going to affect your psyche, because that's the only thing that affects your psyche, is seeing many, many, many examples. Yeah.
Talk about a Mishlei moment.
Yeah.
It didn't happen to me, but I don't even know what pasuk it is, but it has to be a pasuk.
Yeah.
There was I saw a video. It took place in Manhattan.
Yeah.
There was a person in a car in traffic, at a red light, and they stopped at the red light early, maybe 15 feet before the next car.
Yeah.
For the sole purpose of screaming out the window at a Jew, why are you not wearing a mask?
Yeah.
Walking in the street.
Yeah.
And then he's I don't know, screaming at him from a car. And then as they're screaming at him, they pull up to the car in front, and of course they ram into that car.
Yeah.
That's
got to be a Mishlei moment also. Yeah. And this is another benefit, which is that if you, in the same way that in our Rambam B'Kiyosher, you flag the mitzvah, when you have an experience like that, flag it in your mind, and then you'll eventually learn a pasuk that pertains to it, and you'll strengthen that link, or you'll just think about your own insight later. Okay. So let's start a new pasuk, and because of this change in plans, we might scrap our plan for tomorrow of doing review and instead continue with this pasuk. Okay, so we're up to 18:13, right? I'm going to put this on the Mishlei template here. Hold on just 1 second. I want to make sure I'm sharing the right screen. And just so everyone knows, we got a Josh Kogel on the line.
Hello, Josh Kogel.
Okay, so there he is. Hey, Josh. All right, so Mishlei 18:13. Okay, so this is one that clearly is designed to rhyme. Okay, unlike my speculative one last time. And I'm not just saying that because we learned the Ibn Ezra's rhymes last night and like the rhymes are in my head. Meshiv davar b'terem yishma, ivelas hilo uchlima. Right? That's intentional. You don't tell me that's an accident. Oops. Okay, so how would you define that? Or how would you translate that? I mean, initial translation.
Answering the thing
Yeah.
in nature.
So B'terem.
Yeah.
Adonai Hashem Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra.
Like in like the world.
Nope. B'terem is a word for before. Yes. Okay. Good. Yeah. And so Meshiv Davar B'terem Yishma.
Okay. So answering the thing before you listen. Answer the thing before you listen.
Yeah, so I think this is, I would translate this, I think this is a noun. One who answers a thing before he hears it. Okay, good. Hears it.
Oh, Yvelis. What was it? Yvelis. Yeah, what is that?
Yeah, Yvelis is a common Mishlei word which we haven't encountered, I don't think, in our parak yet. So if an Evil is a fool and Yvelis is foolishness. Okay.
It is foolishness and
yeah, low. Yvelis he low.
Oh, it is foolishness to him.
Okay. And klima?
Something.
Destruction?
Nope. That's chaf lamed hey. Lo yivosh lo yikalem.
Oh. Like a different kind of embarrassment. Yeah,
and embarrassment, shame. I think shame is usually the way that, yeah, well, we might nitpick it later, right? So it is a foolishness for him and a shame. Okay. All right, good. So one who answers the thing before he hears it, it is a foolishness for him and a shame. All right, we'll that'll be our initial translation here. Let's see here. Let's look. I did not have time because I woke up 90 minutes late to look at all of our usual minimalist guys. So Mitzus Sion says nothing, right? Is that correct? So we can delete him. Okay, Mitzus Sion says nothing. Sa'dya, I actually have to look up here. You can start looking at the Targum while I do Sa'dya Gaon. If not that, I have a feeling this is gonna be one of those ones where he what do you call it? Has words that we don't know, but if you want to read it out loud while I'm doing this, I can at least hear it once. Yeah. Okay, so that's actually more understandable than I expected. So all right, so let me actually get the Targum here and look at that, and then we'll do the Sa'dya Gaon. So Targum, yeah. Machzir pisgama ad lo shamea. So that seems to be a literal translation here, right? One who, we said answers, but something about machzir gives. I think we can be more specific than answers. Responds, I think, is better, right? And the reason why I'm saying that that's better is like machzir literally means to return. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's the shortish of lahashiv also is shuv, but responding, I don't know. Something about that seems significant. So let's say one who responds to a pisgama. Yeah, I think a pisgam, is pisgam matter or is pisgam statement?
Maybe both. Like davar.
Right, but is it to the exclusion? Is there another word in Aramaic for davar as thing? Not sure. I'm going to say statement for now. We can verify it later. Yeah. And then the second part said, ad lo shemea. Okay, so this is something that is interesting. So this is I don't know if this is going to matter, but you might ask yourself, what's with this weird word b'terem? Okay, like what would be a more normal way to say before? Lifnei or uncle's word. Kodem. Okay, right. So lifnei or kodem, So I this is a shot I heard from Rabbi Chait in Adon Olam. I think this is borne out in, I don't think this is just like Rabbi Chade's idea. I think I've seen this for the word B'terem. So it says, Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra, that God was, Adon Olam, the Lord of the world, who, Asher Malach, who ruled, past tense, B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra, before anything was, any form was created, okay? I don't know, B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra. I'm blanking on the second. No, isn't that later? That's later, right? Is it Achrei Ki Klos Hakol, or is there something in between? I'm not sure. No. There's got to be a sitter down here.
The lyric issues.
let's get a sitter.
Flows too well.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just singing it in my head.
Yeah. It's been so long since I've like been in a shul where they sing it.
I thought it was the ace, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? It's gotta be.
Okay, maybe. Okay, I don't know what you're about. Yeah, Leis Nasab B'Chefto. Yeah, you're right. Leis Nasab B'Chefto Kol Azay Melech Shemo Nikra. Right. So at a time when his will is done with everything, then his Melech, his name will be called Melech. The Achrei Kichlos Hakol Levado Yimloch Nora. And after everything is destroyed or ceases to exist, Levado Yimloch Nora, that he alone will reign forever, right? So first idea there that I remember Rabbi Shea was saying is like, if you ask the average person, why do you call God king? You would think like, what would be like, what's the like go-to answer? Like, why do you call God king?
Because he's all powerful.
Because he's all powerful, okay?
Yeah, gives us mitzvahs.
He gives us mitzvahs, he rules over us, right? But then here, this is saying an idea that God was called king before the universe, and he's called king after the universe ceases, you know? So the idea of Malchus Hashem, this really supports like the Rambam's explanation of Malchus Hashem in the Sefer Mitzvos number 3 that we read, or number 2, I mean, that Malchus Hashem is really a reference to God being an independent existence and being the cause of all existence, you know, which you can define him as king even when there is no creation. Fine, so that was one idea. But then the idea for B'Terem is that there's a problem of saying that God, there's a metaphysical problem with saying that God was king before. There's a problem with using the word before in relation to God. What's the problem there?
He's not in time.
He's not in time, okay, right? So Rabbi Chait explained the difference between lifnei and or like a kodem and B'Terem is that kodem is like a zman word, that before something chronologically prior to, okay? B'Terem is a more specific logically precedes, you know, meaning that if you want to say before, but you don't want to be talking in a framework of time, then B'Terem would be a more accurate term here, you know. So that's why I don't know exactly how to translate ad lo, but I think that's what the Targum is trying to do. Like ad lo means like up until the point where he heard it, or something like I don't know exactly how to translate it in English, but it's like a referring to like
it's without the completion of
something like that. Yeah, so it's like a much tighter non-chronological reference to before. You know, that's what I'm trying to say here.
Would you translate the term as proceeding in cause?
Yeah, proceeding in cause is a good way to say it. Yeah. And I'm not saying that it doesn't mean time. I'm just saying that if you want to distinguish between B'Terem and Kodem, that would be the way to distinguish it. Yeah. Okay. So we'll just translate it as before right now. Okay. So one response to statement before he hears it, before hearing it, and then what's the second part of the Targum is Shatyusa hile uvahasasa. Okay. So Shatyusa here clearly is foolishness, right? It is a foolishness for him, and then bahasasasa. Yeah, what was that? So let's look it up in Jastro. Is that a Jastro in front of you?
No, it's more looking.
Oh, okay.
It looks like a Jasper.
Yeah, it does, right? I'm gonna look it up on here. It's fine. I just wanted to know if it was there. It might have been easier to flip through. Okay.
I mean, they both do define terms.
That is true. I was gonna say more New is just like an advanced Jastro. Bahasasa. Wait, Bez Hey. Sufsafal. Yeah. Yeah, that one I don't know. That one I need to look up. Okay, Bahasa is confounded, ashamed, put to shame. Okay, fine. I'm just going to treat this as a straight translation. Okay, and a shame. Okay, so we really didn't get much out of the Targum other than that one subtlety of odd low. Okay, so we'll keep that in mind. I don't know if it's going to matter. And then Sa'dya Gaon translates it as. By the way, we do have a Sa'dya Gaon here in yeshiva. Something to be aware of if you're ever learning Mishlei on your own. It's in black binding, and it says Mishlei on the side, Rasag. So ha'one teshuvas davar. Ooh, ha'one teshuvas davar. So I think that what do you get from that?
That's like an answer.
Yeah, so one who responds with an answer, right? So that's like a subtle thing, right? One who responds with an answer, okay, to a thing. Hold on. One responds to an answer with a thing. The term Yishma es kulo, before he hears all of it, okay, before hearing all of it. Why do you think he has to say before hearing all of it instead of just before hearing it?
Okay.
You're part of it.
Yeah, he's responding to it, right? So in other words, it can't be that he responds. Well, and I wouldn't say it can't be, but like it's mashma that he started to hear and then he responded without hearing the full thing, as opposed to before anyone says anything, So without hearing all of it, hare zo ivelas mimenu uchlima lo. Okay, it is a foolishness from him and an embarrassment to him. Okay, it is foolishness from him and an embarrassment to him. Okay, yeah. So that's yeah.
I had a methodology question.
Okay, before you do that, I just want to say this is a good example of like targumim in action, right? Little tweakings here and there. You see, he's anticipating questions and responding to them before we ask them. Okay, yeah.
So I think this may end up being the subject of the pasuk.
Your methodology question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you do if how does one proceed if they feel like you already have like an intuition of like what the pasuk is trying to say like upon first reading?
Yeah. So try to the extent possible to resist. Okay, meaning try to set aside your preconceived notion and look at it through with fresh eyes. I know that sounds like just try, but like that's really what you got to do. And also it helps to pretend that you're speaking to either someone who is on a very, very low level of understanding or who's a very antagonistic, like a devil's advocate, and like who's going to be asking about every single little thing, so that'll put you into the mentality of like, because when you feel like you understand what the pasuk says when you first read it, you start filling in stuff and you gloss over questions and ambiguities and stuff like that. So if you pretend in your mind that you're talking to someone who has zero knowledge or who is like antithetical to your or antagonistic towards your interpretation, then it helps you to generate basic questions. And that's also kind of why, like when why I try to force us to ask all the questions first and get them all out on paper, because it forces it into that mentality. Okay, really quickly, Art Scroll translates this as he who answers before he has heard, it will be foolishness and humiliation for him. I'm not going to write that down because that's virtually identical to what we said. And then because I was running late, I just snapped pictures of the living Nach and the altar. So living Nach says, he who answers before he has listened causes himself foolishness and shame. Okay, so that's pretty much the same. And an altar says, who answers a word before hearing it out, it is folly for him and disgrace. Okay, those are too similar for us to really bother with it, so I'm just going to ignore that. Okay, so questions. Isaac, I'm putting you on the spot. Ask all the basic questions. No.
Who's the audience of this posting?
Okay.
What is the opposite of it?
Yeah. Now, here, who's the audience of this puzzle seems to be clear, right? Generally, it's someone who's tempted to respond before hearing it out. But the question is, who is that guy? Like, is this someone who is a fool? Is it someone who is like, who's prone to this problem? Yeah. Okay.
Why would a person want to respond to something before hearing it?
Okay.
Because it seems like you should hear just like on the surface, it seems like obviously you should hear it. Like it's like when you see it in game shows, people, someone who like presses the buzzer.
Yeah.
Like it's like obvious you should.
Yes. Okay. Good. Right. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
not always though. Because like in the game show, there's a specific game show I'm thinking of, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking of it the whole time, and I can't identify the show. But if the guy finishes his question, then it's a race to buzz in.
Yeah.
Whoever buzzes in first gets to answer.
Yeah.
But if you buzz in while he's asking the question,
Yeah.
you could still answer, but if you get it wrong, you lose points.
Right.
But what that does is it allows you to like beat the race because
Right.
that other person's not buzzing in.
Right. So the question.
I feel like I've seen game shows that like that.
Yeah. So the question is reality a game show, right? I mean, in some situations in reality, it is like that, where split second who gets it there first matters. And in some cases, it's not. So that'll be part of the question of, well, so let's just ask this here, okay, which is what situation is this talking about? Okay. And that might be intrinsically tied to the audience or to the why. Yeah. I didn't mean to say Isaac has to come up with all the questions, but yeah. Well,
this is my time.
Oh, by the way, I just realized, were you trying to deliberately make a joke?
No, I actually had a question, and then I was like, "Oh, this project seems to be like addressing that."
Okay, yeah, because that would have been a good joke. I just maybe, yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad that I didn't like jump ahead.
Yeah, that would have been really shameful and a foolishness. Yeah. So should we just list that?
Yeah,
What is the foolishness
And what's the shame?
and what is the shame?
Those were actually
Good.
No, I was gonna say what is responding as opposed to answering.
Yeah. Okay. Good. What is the, and I'm gonna actually group that under the what situation is this talking about? Okay. What type of responding is this talking about? I think that's part of the situation question here.
Is it answering a question?
Yeah. Is it refutation? Is it objection? Especially because lahashiv is a very vague word in Hebrew, right? Like lahashiv could either, I mean, the two things are to answer, like a shiur and tshuva, or lahashiv is like to object, like mesiveh, right? Mesiveh is Aramaic for like lahashiv, yeah. Here's another question that I have is I've seen Chachamim do this, and in fact, it's often a sign of Chachma.
Sign of wisdom that you can understand where they're going by only hearing a couple words.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like Rav Pesach does this.
It's very offending to me.
Rav Pesach does this all the time in shiur, where like he'll be fleshing something out, and then he'll like say, and I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say blah 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 blah, and the guy's like, how'd you know? He anticipates what the person's gonna say before they say it. So I'm gonna just ask this here: how, if at all, is this different from what Chachamim do when they can figure out what someone is going to say before they say it? And it might be the same and it might be different. We don't know. That's why I'm saying how, if at all. Is this it? Yeah.
Is the person right when he's doing this, or is he wrong? Is he?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Is he doing it correctly, but it's a foolishness for him, or is it that he's making a mistake?
Okay. Good. So I'm not sure which question to tack that onto, but I'm going to put that under question 3 of what situation is it talking about and what's the response. So is this talking about a person who gives an incorrect response, or is it a correct response which is timed wrong? I don't know. It's timed wrong. I don't know if that's the good way to say it. Yeah. Okay, I think that about covers the questions, right? Okay, so we're definitely not going to be able to do the Farshim today, but I guess you want to say what the idea you had in mind?
Yeah. So,
yeah.
It sounds like it's saying that when you are trying to anticipate what the person is going to say before they say it, and then respond. When you don't actually know, then you're going to respond to something that is just like it's not how they're thinking, it's how it's just how you are speculated they might be
Yeah.
feeling. And then they're going to be like, what are you talking about? And it's just you're just gonna like you're like trying to seem like a little like I don't know, not gonna touch what exactly you're doing, but then you're like you're just going to look foolish because you're saying something that wasn't what either party was talking about.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, so factually speaking, that seems to be a primary concern, is that your response will not match up to what is being said, either because it's off topic or it doesn't actually respond to the question because you didn't finish hearing it. This raises a new question though in my mind, okay, which you can dismiss this question if you choose. Okay, so what? Okay, fine. So then like, is this the end of the world? Like, so then just like, brush it off. Yeah, like the guy's like, oh no, that's not what I was asking, and then you move on, and like shame. Okay, fine. So like, ain't a low bash on low made. Like the shame. Is this really like the end of the world? Now you can brush this off and say, well, we don't want to be ashamed, and we do care about that. But I feel like we should at least address this question of like, what's the consequence? What's so bad about this consequence?
Yeah.
What is the consequence? I should say, what is the consequence, and what is so bad about it? I'll just elaborate. Is there something objectively harmful, or is the bad consequence the simply the bad feelings? Right?
Yeah, well, I mean, that wouldn't be crazy. Isn't Mishlei like working with enough people who care about that?
Right. Yeah. I guess the reason why I'm asking this is because if the only thing that's bad about this is the feelings, so then just say it's a shame for him. Why would you have to say it's Ivelis Hilo? Now you could say that Ivelis Hilo is just telling you like that's like the actual diagnosis of what he's doing. Like it is foolishness, and then the consequence is klima. But if you said that Ivelis is one consequence and klima is another consequence, then we'd have to like define what the consequence is other than the shame.
Did we ask what foolishness is?
No, let's do that. What is Ivelis? Oh yeah, we did ask that. What is the foolishness? Oh, so we said what is the foolishness? So I'm gonna just modify that question. Okay, what is Ivelis in general, and what is it in this particular context? Yeah, and then let's do the same thing for shame, right? What is chlima in general, and what is it in this particular context? Yeah.
I have a more speculative.
More speculative. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
About why a person would want to do this.
Okay.
That they want to seem like a chacham because they can predict what the person's gonna say.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely experientially. I feel like that's definitely the case. Is like I don't need to hear your entire question. I know what you're gonna say from just a few words. Yeah.
There's a difference there between doing that because you want to portray yourself as wise, or you're doing that because you can.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I
like the chachamim we said.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. If I run somewhere and I run really fast and I happen to be a very good runner,
yeah.
I'm not doing that to show off that I'm a good runner.
Right.
I just want to get there fast.
Right. Yeah. So I think that actually that was my underlying thing also about bringing up the chachamim case. Not only do chachamim do it, but they're not doing it for a lot of the reasons I can think of why fools do it. And so yeah. And here's a Mishlei methodology point also. So I used to be for a long time in learning Mishlei, my default line of inquiry was into motives, and Rabbi Moskowitz would always have to center me on focusing on actions and consequences, not motives. Now, there are psukim that talk about motives, and there are psukim where the motives are an inherent part of the idea, but I think it is a good rule of mind a good habit to see if you can explain the pasuk without delving into the motives first. And then if the pasuk forces you into looking at the motives, then you can do that. Because it's very easy. This is kind of in your objection, Joe. There could be a lot of reasons why a person does something also. And they may or may not be in this situation, Whereas if Mishlei is overtly identifying, if you do this action, then that is a Ivelis and a Chlima. So if we can tie the idea to the action, regardless of the motives, then that's a stronger interpretation, But I agree, you're right. There's a lot of times people do it because they want to show off. But yeah.
I had a separate thought
Yeah.
about the difference between when a couple does it versus when someone else does it.
Yeah.
You could argue that, let's say when Preemptive does it, that he already has heard it.
Yeah.
It's
Oh.
it's not that he's responding before he hears it. It's he already has heard it because he has heard in general how the way that this person asks questions or whatever, and so like mentally he already hears the objection the person will ask before they ask it.
Yeah.
Right, so Yishma could mean understand, maybe.
Yeah.
Instead of hear.
Yeah. That's a good possibility. I'm just trying to think about whether that's a forced read. You know. Yeah. Okay, let's this is a good stopping point for today. Let's let it percolate, and then tomorrow we'll come back to it and then look at the Mefarshim. And tomorrow we have a shorter tomorrow's Friday, right? Yeah. So yeah, we have a shorter time. Yeah. Okay.
Wait, so then we're not doing the mission review?
Oh yes, maybe you weren't here when I said that because we started off with my whole Mishlei thingy this morning, then we're gonna push off the review thing.
Oh.
Yeah. Alrighty. So to be continued.
Sounds good.
See you, Josh.